base of an aqueduct here to the left beyond the trees, bringing water up to the Palatine Hill. While at the end of this avenue you see there in the distance, you saw it this morning, that's the Arch of Constantine, a triumphal arch that was set an example for the many arches you see around Europe. You see this one in London, Marble Arch in London, the Arc de Triomphe in Paris. They all take after these ancient Roman arches, triumphal arches, which were erected to celebrate either victories or to honor an emperor. So the Palatine Hill to the left, Constantine Arch in front of you, and there is the very good, you remember. Unfortunately, this is the side that's missing all of the outer ring because of earthquakes. This area collapsed, so you only see the inner ring. The northern end, which you saw this morning as we walked into the Colosseum, that was the best preserved area. Joanne, this is a little view, not the perfect view, but at least you get to see it. Joanne and Jim, you were not here this morning. Beautiful amphitheater, built in only 8 years. In only 8 years, the Emperor Vespasian and his son Titus completed this huge amphitheater, which was used mostly for gladiatorial fights, in use for 5 centuries, until then when Christianity actually banned those games, which were very cruel, I would say. And from here, we are up on the Caelian Hill, another one of the famous 7 hills, but here Aldo is going to pull a fast one. Going to take us back so we get to see another wonderful square. There to the right you see the outer ring. You know that the Colosseum is used also, well, it's not used for anything right now, but it is a symbol in Rome. Whenever there is a state in the world that gives up death penalty or somebody's life is spared, for the whole night all the lights come on from the inside of the Colosseum and they're thrown out. So to celebrate that, whenever a country gives up death penalty, that is a way to celebrate this. Okay, so we're going back the same way so that we can go around the Palatine Hill, and this time I will be able to show you the Capitoline Hill and also Piazza Venezia at night time.
Alzare un po' la musica o aumenta pure il volume del microfono? Tutto a posto, sì.
È un po' serio, lo vedo.
Lo so, infatti quando ho fatto il giro col gruppo, quando abbiamo fatto il giro che era a gennaio, era un po' più di entusiasmo. Ma sto gruppo è un po' scetto, devo dire.
Ci sarà di peggio.
Ci sarà di peggio.
Sarebbe peggio. Anzi questi, dolori però anche. Hanno tempi peggiori.
Ci sarà.
Hanno tempi peggiori.
Si accontenta di quello che c'è, che poi non c'è mai Gideon perfetto.
Dici magnete questo adesso, chissà se dopo magni.
Un'ottima filosofia. Un ottimo modo di vedere le cose, infatti.
Over here, just under the Palatine Hill, where you see these buildings and these cafes, this is just beyond this church here to the right. This is where apparently the basket that was carrying the two babies of the Vestal Virgin Rhea Silvia, and this is where they were abandoned, and this is where they were found by the she-wolf. You ever seen the image of Rome with the two babies nursing under the wolf? That's because, according to the legend, you heard today what the Vestal Virgins were supposed to do? Well, the mother of the twin brothers, who were the founders of Rome, was a Vestal Virgin. But of course, she became pregnant because the god Mars got her pregnant. Okay, that's the legend. And so she had to abandon her babies in a basket on the river, and the river flooded and brought the basket just here under the Palatine Hill. Once again, the two temples we saw before, the circular temple and the rectangular one. And look at this church here coming right up to the left, which is very interesting because it's a good example of recycling. You see that in the side of the church, they incorporated columns of an ancient pagan temple. And that's because, as you heard already this morning, a lot of those pagan temples were either destroyed or turned into churches. So very often the ruins of the temples were incorporated as foundations. Here to the right, another area of very early times of the Roman kingdom. Some of the first temples were built right here. Of course, now only rocks. And after the traffic light, you will see a big construction there on the left-hand side of the street. This is a good example of how they recycled during the Middle Ages ancient Roman ruins. So at the bottom was the theater of Marcellus, named after a nephew of Julius Caesar, and the construction on top is a condominium. But this was a palace used in the Middle Ages. They actually bought the theater and they built their home above it. Can you see that? How they incorporated that. 3 columns belong to the Temple of Apollo, and just beyond that area we have the first Jewish ghetto of the city. That's where during the Middle Ages the Jewish community was forced to live. While to the right up here we have the Capitoline Hill. Once the area where we had the most important temples, and now where we have the City Hall. There's a brick building at the top of the very steep staircase in front of us. That was a monastery, a Franciscan monastery, and part of that was destroyed to build the big monument dedicated to the first king of Italy. You saw that already. But now look to the right, because up this lower staircase, this is where Michelangelo, as a great architect that he was, he redesigned the square at the top over here, and this is the Capitoline Hill. There is the town hall at the very top, the statue of Marcus Aurelius in the middle, spared, the only one in bronze spared because they thought it was of the Emperor Constantine who gave freedom to the Christians, and 2 parallel museums, one on each side. So here we are once again at the very heart of the city, and on this hill next to the Franciscan church, which was partly destroyed, they destroyed the cloister to build this huge monument to celebrate Italian unification. So we'll go around the square in a circle so that you can take your nice pictures of Europe's largest monuments. Here it is, wonderful white marble that comes from the lake region close to where we started the tour, Lake Como. On the lake to the west of that, Lake Maggiore. That's where they got all this beautiful white marble with all the symbols of the different parts of Italy. The top of the first flight of steps of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. Tonight we have people from the Navy guarding it. And the top right of the center is the horse holding Victor Emmanuel II, the first king of Italy. You know, I saw pictures of the workers that worked on this. they had a dinner. They were 6 of them were eating at a table inside that horse. That's how big it is. To the right, the marble column of the Emperor Trajan. This is where the Imperial Fora was. While to the left of the square, we have Palazzo Venezia. Once built by a Venetian pope, it became the Venetian embassy here in Rome, and used as a headquarters for Mussolini in the 1920s and 30s. It is from that little balcony that he used to address the crowds, right there where you see the 2 flags, and it is also the place from which he declared war to France and England. To the left, once again,